Our Economica class, we were required to spend a month helping Mr. Mad clean out an abandoned apartment tower in Cathedral City. Not just me, but everyone in the class. All 20 of us were required to help the cleanup of the tower that was recently purchased by Isaacs Industries. So we would be helping the cleanup crews clean up the tower, amongst other things. It was supposed to teach us the value of cleaning crews in making places livable after they were condemned. The background information of the Temperance Tower was far from simple. Originally, it was built 40 years ago, when it was considered both economical and fashionable to have both workers and their families live in apartments below the offices. It stood for a while longer, where the apartments were rented out and businesses subletted the offices. However, with an economic crash a little over a decade ago, no one was able to rent or sublet from the upper floors. So the people in the apartments started moving upstairs and putting their friends into the offices above. In time, the renters became squatters, and both the offices and apartments became filthy and broken down. About a year ago, the city triumvirate condemned Temperance Tower. Legally, everyone was evicted then. However, 6 months ago, the police led a massive raid and arrested over 200 squatters from Temperance Tower. That led to us now, a cleaning company that specialized in condemned buildings and crime scenes was hired to clean the building for the company. My father thought it was a good idea to have everyone in Economica to have hands-on experience in cleaning up such a condemned place. My father, who now owned the entire building, believed that kids didn't appreciate what went into work. So he pulled a few strings with Agamemnon, and next thing I knew, my summer break was going to be spent cleaning a condemned building. Mr. Mad just thought it was a fantastic idea. He taught us all about the economics of not just work, but also crime, capitalism, compassion, courts, creativity, and charity. He taught us about how businesses tended to externalize costs to the others outside to keep their business expenses low, such as car companies having government maintained roads when train companies had to pay for the rails, or where private schools would gleefully accept public funds but also fight tooth and nail to avoid low performing students. Or in this case, how Isaacs Industries outsourced the job of cleaning the entire building to a cleaning company instead of hiring cleaners to work full time. The same cleaning company who was now depending on 20 children to help with the cleaning operation without getting paid. Tavit, one of my homework projects was calculating how much money I was saving the cleaning company by my work. The student who saved the cleaning company the most money would get a pizza party at the end of the summer. I was certain they were pushing us to clean as much as possible to squeeze as much labor as they could out of us. Even a really, really nice pizza party with arcades, bowling, and unlimited soda for the entire class wouldn't be worth 700 denarii. If they were paying us at minimum wage, we would have made 12 denarii each by the end of the month. And they weren't paying for a pizza party for the entire class. They were paying for one person. So, some quick calculations, and assuming a nice pizza party at the James Amazing Pizza place, that would be a maximum of 50 centi of cost for them. Maybe an extra 25 if they were going to be generous with tokens. So it would cost them 0.75 denarii to receive 240 denarii worth of labor. There is my math, and that project done. And now all I had to worry about was providing 12 denarii worth of labor. When we made it to Temperance Tower, We all offloaded from the bus while Mr. Mad stood in front of the class and explained what we were going to do. Mr. Mad was dressed in a smart suit that was completely green. Even the tie and the undershirt are all the same shade of spring green. He also wore a hat that was the same shade of green, and like most teachers of the school, he wore a blank mask that looked like it was a phantom pantomime player. It was also the exact same shade of spring green as the rest of his suit, but his voice still boomed out from underneath the mask. As you can see, the Temperance Tower is behind us. Power, water, gas, internet, and even phone services have all been disconnected from the building. All squatters have been evicted from the building by local police, but they have left behind a very large mess, so that is where we come in. Each of you will be paired with a partner and assigned to one of the cleaners, who will teach you about the role they do. You will help out and remember your lessons I want you to learn. Occupational safety is no joke. Every single rule was paid for in blood. Every rule you are asked to follow was because someone was either severely hurt or even killed. So, the rules were written to keep you safe. Also, you will need to both calculate how much money you are saving the cleaning company, and the one of you who does the most work will get a pizza party for yourself at the end of the year, Mr. Mad said, which drew cheers from most of the class. I kept silent since I knew the cost, but I still paid attention to the only other student to not cheer. She was dressed in the school's uniform, but underneath the uniform she was covered in long gauze bandages that shone white underneath the sunlight. None of her skin was exposed at all. Even her eyes weren't visible, but still, she was a good student, silent most of the time, and similar to Mr. Mad and most of the other students, she goes by Sobriquet rather than her given name. She went by the Killer of Comet, often shortened to just KK. It certainly fit her well. She looked like a mummy with all of her gauze, and there has been a persistent rumor that she killed someone to get into Agamemnon. A rumor she verified to anyone who asked her. However, as cool as her sobriquet is, mine didn't work out the same way. It sounded cool and full of reference when I told the headmaster I wanted my sobriquet to be the High Priest. It felt clever at the time, a reference to what my name was based off of. Why, High Priest of Shiloh and the penultimate judge before the time of kings. It was also another term for the arcana Hierophant, a reference to the cards given to me by my mother before I came to Agamemnon's Academy for Accelerated Apprenticeship. I still don't know why the cards were important, but I knew that they were important. I felt confident going by that sobriquet, the High Priest, until my home teacher called it out and the class burst out laughing. Yeah, calling yourself the High anything around a bunch of teenagers is a great way to get them to laugh at you. So I decided it was best to keep to myself as much as possible, but with the knowledge that I now needed a partner before we were to go in, I immediately knew who I wanted to be partnered with. KK intimidated most of the other classmates ever since Troll Lord tried to start a fight with her. She finished the fight, and no one has tried to start anything with her anymore, but I have never had any trouble with her. She was quiet, and even though I couldn't see her expression under her bandages, she seemed to be thinking about finding a partner too. Hello, would you like to be partners for this project? I asked her. She turned to face me. I could only see darkness where her eyes were supposed to be, but that made it easier for me to look at her. Then, if I could see her eyes. Sure, she said, turning back to her notebook as she kept writing. Awesome. Now I wonder what duty we are going to be on, I asked as that drew a few more snickers from the others. I ignored them just as I became aware of a presence directly behind me. Just as Mr. Mad spoke while he gripped my shoulder. Good question, High Priest. Killer of Comet. You are both assigned to Larry Lorai. He is assigned to floors 15 through 18. You both will have to help him get them to a livable condition before the end of the summer. Good luck, Mr. Mad said, before letting go of my shoulder. It took us a few minutes to find Larry. He was a man who was in his 40s, his face already lined from years of frowning. He saw us both and spat on the sidewalk as we approached. I could already tell that we weren't going to get along very well. Put on that PPE over there. PPE is important, so you don't get stuck with something or sick with something else, he said, pointing at some rubber yellow coveralls and boots. Hazmat suits came in varying qualities depending on what needed to be cleaned up. Even something as simple as an accident had to be cleaned up by hazardous materials to deal with blood and the other less pleasant body fluids. Other teams deal exclusively with cleaning up radiation, chemicals, pollution, biohazards, fire damage, or a mixture of all of them. A lot of people see them as janitors, and in a way, it is correct. In the way that it's very essential to modern society, it's often looked down on and overlooked, and the cleaning had to be done. Some facilities had dedicated hazmat teams on hand to deal with disasters. But in the seven cities, they were usually third party companies that were hired for a job before they had to find a different job, also like janitors. The suits appeared to be a level D. They weren't like the ones in the movies that covered the entire body with its own air supply. Ours were simpler, large coveralls that we had to step into and zip up, which, thankfully, fit well, made out of a thick fabric that would protect us from most substances that might splash on us, and it was made to be cleaned up afterwards. The boots were worn, but still thick rubber with a steel toe, designed to insulate from accidental shock, syringes, and from any heavy objects dropping on our toes. The gloves were also thick rubber with tracking on the fingers and palms. Our safety glasses were slightly scratched, but still ones I could see through. Our masks, on the other hand, were the paper ones used by painters. It offered some protection, but it wouldn't protect from the smell very well. Thankfully, I had a bit of mint flavored chapstick with me that I put on my lips to help cover up the smell and keep my lips hydrated. I offered some to KK, who refused it. When we were ready, Larry grunted and led us over to large tool bags. Power's been cut from the building. We are working on floors 15 and 18. Guess how we are going to get everything we need up there? Larry asked, handing both of us a heavy tool bag and a lamp helmet. We have to walk? I offered. Larry only looked at me like I was an idiot. What are you, an idiot? We don't walk. We climb up the stairs, he said, leading us into the building. KK was quiet and stoic, but the way her back tightened up, I could guess that she wasn't looking forward to climbing up those stairs either. Our lamps revealed that the stairs were covered in graffiti and trash and something that smelled a lot like dirt. Ancient papers and food wrappers decorated our feet as we walked up the steps. I did my best to not complain, remembering what my father often said about people my age only complaining and never having to work for anything. Still, though, I couldn't help but notice that Larry wasn't carrying any tool bags while we climbed those stairs. As we climbed, Larry spoke about his plan for cleaning Temperance Tower. Now, most people will start on the lower floor, but that's a bad idea. It just means you have to carry any heavy items up with you. You might ruin the work you did before. If you start at the highest floor, you just have to bring it down with you, not up. Now, if we can get the upper floors in decent shape, then we can set up a suspended platform and help get heavy things up and down the building. That way, we don't have to carry every heavy piece of equipment up and down the stairs. If we were going to set up a suspended platform for heavy equipment, why don't we set it up first before having us carry 30 kilograms up 72 flights of stairs? KK asked Larry, who only scoffed in response. Dumbass and lazy. I knew it. You kids don't appreciate hard work. It's because it takes time to set up the suspended platform, and it takes time to bring the tools to the right levels. We can get a lot of cleaning done and ready by the time the suspended platform's ready. Now, I don't know how it works in your world, but in the real world, when you are given a contract, if you finish it early, you get a bonus for it. So, every hour of work we save means a bigger paycheck for you and your team. KK responded by gesturing rudely at Larry, who didn't even turn around. Now look, I don't do things half-assed. It gets done all the way, or you might as well not do anything. I will have expectations. If you don't meet them, you don't get lunch or break. Do you understand? He said as we passed the 10th floor while KK and I followed behind while I was puffing from the exertion. Um, doesn't that violate working laws? We are guaranteed breaks and lunch when we work 2 hours and lunch when we work 4 hours. That way we get appropriate rest from work, I said, and Larry responded by lowering his mask and spitting down the stairwell, letting it drop to the ground floor. Yeah, that's for paid employees, dumbass. You're not paid, you don't get breaks, unless I say so. So, listen here, smartass. If you got a problem with it, go whine to daddy. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to spend the rest of his life fighting your fights for you. All you have to do is work hard. Not that much to ask, is it? Larry said, and my jaw clenched as I heard both my father and my mother's voice in my head. If you did some actual work, then maybe you would have actual character. Maybe you wouldn't be so pathetic. If you don't like something, then change it. Do something. All you do is study, homework, chores, school, and read. You need to do something. My father's voice echoed after he came home from a week-long work trip and he saw me reading a book. Be the better person. That's how you show strength, my mother's voice said, as she helped get ice for my red cheek after my father's tirade. At this moment, following behind someone who was making me carry his bags, and he had the gall to still complain about something I haven't done yet and calling me lazy, it was hard to choose. But Moments like this are what defined me more than the moments where it was easy to do the right thing. I'm going to be the better person, I said out loud. Larry grunted in a way that suggested he thought I was agreeing with him. I wasn't going to correct him. I was already exhausted from carrying the heavy bag, and this was when I noticed a difference between KK and me. Every flight, I put the bag down for a moment to let myself catch a breath. But even with all of Larry's machismo, he was also panting, even if he was trying to hide it. But KK wasn't even breathing heavily, and as far as I could see, she never sat her bag down once. She didn't even seem tired. Was she an exime? It would make sense, but if that was the case, I should definitely have a private conversation with her later. Larry didn't notice as he continued the trek up the last few flights to the top floor of Temperance Tower. He opened the door and sat a rubber doorstop to keep it open, and across from the stairway door was the elevator door. Like most of the stairway, it was graffitied, but this one felt both intentional and done with artistry. It was painted like a golden castle tower, almost resembling a rook from chess, with a silver crown on top. The middle of the tower had the alchemical symbol of iron on it, also associated with Mars or just men in general, and on the bottom of the painted tower was the Roman numeral 16, XVI. My breath caught in my throat as I thought about the cards given to me by my mother. I had the Empress and the Hermit, but does this mean the tower was somewhere on this floor? My sore muscles stopped aching at the thought as Larry leaned back and popped his back loud enough for us to hear it. Now, let's start over by the far office. Brush all the junk into one pile and then we'll start bagging it, he said as he stepped away towards the balcony. He clearly needed a smoke break after climbing up all those steps and making two children carry his things for him. Still, though, my excitement overrode my reluctance. I removed the pole pieces and started screwing them together, including the broom head, so that way I could sweep up the papers and needles. But I would be paying attention to a very specific piece of litter that would stick out like a sheet of gold amongst a pile of shredded paper. You're awfully excited to be cleaning, KK commented, while she also put her broom together, with a lot less excitement than I did. I'll explain to you when we're alone, I said. My heart was pounding in excitement from the idea of finding another clue to the strangeness that tied me to my mother. But can you keep a secret?